inside, and it was, we got pretty hungry after 2 or 3 days of walking, and we couldn't find anything to eat. And I said, look, we got to take a chance. We went to this farmhouse and knocked on the door. I did. And this lady came to the door, and I asked her if she spoke English. She did this to me, and a little bit is what she was trying to display to me. And I told her we were starving, and we really needed something to eat to make any difference what it was. And she said she would feed us. And she did speak a little bit of English, and she understood English well. And I wrote a note while she was fixing us something to eat, and I put on the note, to whom it may concern, this lady has helped us in our escape, and she has been very helpful, and would you please treat her with kindness, because she did the best she could for us. But she didn't read the note, and the two of us left, and we were walking down this long road to her house, dirt road, and I heard this woman screaming, and I turned back, and I went running back to see what was wrong with her. And she met me about halfway, and she said, I just read the note. Oh, it was broken English, of course. And she said, this will do you more good than me. And she handed me a small gun with 3 cartridges. And I thanked her profusely, and off we went. Well, that was very helpful. We stole some bicycles, and that beats the heck out of walking. And we got the rest of the way across Germany as far as we went. But it was a nightmare in and out of the Russian lines. Nevertheless, we eventually came upon an airfield that was practically deserted, and there were 190s in the revetments. And for those of you who don't know what a revetment is, it was a place on the airfield where it was U-shaped, and there were big mounds of dirt all the way around the horseshoe, and over the top they'd put nets for camouflaging, and so that's the way you hid the airplanes away from reconnaissance sighting, and all the airplanes had been damaged. They didn't have gas in them, and we went from one revetment to the other, and nobody seemed to even bother us. And so I told Jerry what I wanted to do. I said, I want to get in a Bobhoover 190 and bring it back to England. And he said, well, I just don't want to fly. You give me the gun, and we'll see what we can get going. Well, I waited, and the mechanic came by, and I yelled, halt him, and I had the gun on him, and I motioned for him to come in the revetment, because I had found an airplane that was full of fuel, had a lot of battle damage, but nothing vital to flight, and we couldn't communicate with him, and so we were at a dead end, an impasse. And then Jerry said, I taught French in high school. And he said, I'm going to try my French on him. I said, try anything. And so he did understand French, and Jerry told him what I wanted to do. And but when I got in the airplane, I'd forgotten everything Gus had told me in the prison camp that had been 3 or 4 months before. And I didn't even know how to start it. Everything was just absolutely foreign to me when I got in. So I told Jerry to tell him he had to start that airplane, and if he didn't get it running for me, he was going to shoot him. Well, this guy, I got in the cockpit. He was sitting on the wing then. He just went pale white and started perspiring. And he reached in there and he got it started for me, and showed me how to get the gear up. And I didn't try to taxi out because I felt somebody might start shooting at me if they see me taxiing out. So I just go right from the revetment instead of going to a runway. I just went right out across this grass field. I got airborne, and I got the gear up, and then the reality struck me. You've got to be the dumbest guy that ever flew an airplane. And I had an overcast ceiling at about 4,000 feet. And I thought, well, if I stay down here where I am, some second lieutenant right out of flight school can knock me off in a minute. I had no parachute. I could hardly see out because I didn't have a seat cushion, so I was sitting like this. And it turns out I flew over a lot of airfields, but you don't dare land on any airfield that has been deserted because the Germans would mine the airfields all the way across Africa, and we'd lose our first forces that would come in on those particular bases. And so we knew better than to land. So I thought, I've got to go to the Zeta Z, and I'll see windmills, and I'll know I'm in friendly territory. And that's exactly what happened. By the time I saw windmills, the fuel gauges were sitting on empty, and I started searching for any place to put it down. But I knew I must be in friendly territory because of the windmills. The Dutch hated the Germans, and as a result, I put it down in what I thought was a pretty smooth field until I was on the ground, and then I saw a ditch that I had not seen from the air. And I was concerned that if I went into the ditch, I'd be upside down before you know it, and nobody to help get me out. And so I decided to ground loop and wipe out the landing gear and avoid the ditch, which is what happened. And I sat there thinking about how dumb I was, and I got out of the cockpit and I started walking towards some trees. I'd seen a road on the other side of these trees, and I was not only feeling stupid, but I was concerned with that. I already was in Holland, and at that time I looked up and pitchforks were coming at me from all angles, and they were the Dutch, and they hated the Germans, and they'd seen me land this airplane, and boy, they weren't happy at all. And as it turned out, I kept walking with my hands up and got to a road, and as good fortune would have it, a British truck came by, and I was standing out there waving my arms, and he stopped, and I told him I had just landed, and they thought I was a German, and as a result, they gave me a ride, and the rest is history. But it wasn't as great a thing as a lot of people have thought, but that's the true story.
They're all true stories.